Welcome to An Awful World, but not awful like you think.
This is the show where we discuss whether we would have discovered important advances in a world exclusively full of Haylies and Libbys. I'm Haylie.
And I'm Libby. And today, we're talking about plastic. I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Life in plastic. It's fantastic. Sorry, we promised singing on some of these episodes, and so we always have to make good on those promises.
That's right. That way we can be on Apple Music.
Exactly. It's sort of tangentially music.
Yeah.
In a way. So we're looking for a producer and a label. So if you know somebody, hook us up. I'm kidding. So it's so funny because before we hopped on the mic, Haylie and I were talking about how we researched of the bundle that we were doing today. We researched plastic first because we thought it'd be the most boring and we wanted to get over with. And then it was like, oh,
that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, this is way more interesting than I was expecting.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's
do plastic. So up until like the 1800s, the word plastic just meant like pliable, like something had plasticity.
Yes.
Which is kind of funny because now when you say the word plastic,
that is not what it means.
No, you have a very clear image in your mind of what plastic is. So polymers are what make plastic.
Okay.
Polymers are just like bundles of things found in nature. Like, that's really stupid way of me describing it.
I was like, that tells me literally
nothing. Polymer means of many parts. So basically plastic is a synthetic polymer.
Okay.
If that is starting to make sense.
Makes a little sense.
I'll give you some more information because this is when it started to make a little more sense to me. So the first fully wait. No, this wasn't fully synthetic. The first partially synthetic polymer was invented in 1869. And it was this guy whose name I didn't write down. Sorry. To him and his family.
Is it Alexander Parks?
I wouldn't remember even if you told me.
Because I have 1856.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me about what you have in 1856, because now I'm curious.
He made something. His name was Alexander Parks, so he made Parkasine.
Oh, okay.
And that is a plastic made of cellulose.
Okay, so that is also something similar I have, that it was cellulose.
Okay.
From cotton fibers.
Yes. So
they treat it with some chemical. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, so this one, he used a mixture. Apparently this cellulose, this Parkasine, is made of chloroform and castor oil.
Whoa, that's weird.
And I was like, oh. These things still exist. Should we make it?
Yeah.
If I just mix those together, we could make plastic?
I don't think we should try. I don't think we should mess around. Castor oil, that's not going to hurt you. You mess around with that all day long.
Well, chloroform's not going
to
hurt you. It's just going to knock you out for a bit.
I know, but then it's like the FBI comes knocking on your door and they're like, why are you researching how to make chloroform? It's a whole thing.
Don't you want to be chloroform just like once?
You are sounding exactly like Jake Peralta right now.
I know, but like, I want to be. And everyone's always like, oh, and then you wake up and your mouth tastes like it's full of pennies.
Really?
That's what I hear. That's all I hear.
Interesting.
So I know this is about plastic, but also I do want to be chloroformed.
I wonder, just as a brief aside about chloroform, I do wonder if it's as like instantaneous as they make it seem like in movies and stuff.
That's why and then I want to know, like, do you wake up like how you wake up after you've been
in surgery
under anesthesia?
Yeah.
Or do you wake up feeling like kind of hungover, like, whoa,
I don't know.
Weird. Like, I just have questions and I want to know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, should we get some chloroform, and try to make plastic, but also chloroform each other?
Oh my God.
What a fun day.
Yeah.
We'll make a day of it.
Unless we fuck it up and it's like, 4 people found dead in a Indianapolis home after.
One of our patrons is a nurse. We'll have her come monitor the situation.
Okay. Well, all right.
Fine.
We'll look into it. We were making plastic.
Yeah.
We swear it has nothing to do with meth or murder.
We were just trying to do something fun for our Patreon.
It was a science project.
Yes.
Guys,
come on. We're just making plastic.
Relax.
Anywho.
So what was interesting is that the reason that we decided to come up with some kind of like synthetic polymer is because we used natural resources.
The natural plastics.
Ivory, tortoiseshell, all those things were actual. Like now you think of like glasses that have like tortoiseshell pattern. Like, that's not real tortoiseshell.
No.
That's plastic that's dyed to look like tortoiseshell.
Yes, but they used to use it for like combs.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. I feel like it was this guy, but I can't remember, who there was like a shortage of like ivory and tortoiseshell in the billiards industry. And so they couldn't play their pool because they didn't have any material to make pool sticks. And so that's why they came up with this polymer.
Which is something I think is so fascinating, because when I was researching this, everything was like, well, scientists were trying to come up with something environmentally friendly to fix the fact that animals were starting to go extinct, like elephants were going extinct, trying to get the tusks. And now we are literally drowning in a world of plastic.
I thought that was so interesting too, because right off the bat, after that first synthetic one was made, it was praised. I literally have it written down, praised as a savior of elephants.
Yes.
People were like, oh my God, this is such a big deal. We're going to, reduce all this, waste of these animals, killing these animals. They're going extinct, all this stuff. And then it turned out to be so evil in the end.
So bad.
Like unintentionally, I think. I really do think that they set out to like solve a problem.
Yes.
They just couldn't foresee that the thing about plastic, which we'll talk about later, but the thing about plastic is that it does not break down in nature.
Right.
There's no, it doesn't break down like anything else.
Right. But something I wonder is like, Parkasine is made of cellulose, and which is like natural, things like that. And then it's in 1907 that we get a first fully synthetic.
Yes, has nothing
plastic
from nature.
Yes. And so I wonder if maybe they wouldn't have kept pushing it.
Yeah.
If it wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah,
if they would have
maybe.
kept it fairly natural.
Right.
That it would have made, I don't know really much more past the fact that it was called Parkasine and that it was cellulose and things like that.
I think it was the cotton fibers that it was.
But that I wonder if those would eventually break down more.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
But by making it more synthetic, I wonder if they, maybe they were like, well, if we make it out of more synthetic things, we're saving more natural resources.
Yes, exactly.
And things like that.
I think you're exactly right about that.
And not knowing that it's not going to break down.
Right. Again, I think this is one of those situations where it's like the intention was actually good.
Yes.
For once.
That's what I thought was so fascinating.
I know, because it turned out to be such an evil thing, a horrible thing. And it's like, man, you guys really tried and you made it so much worse. Well, as with anything, 1907, we get the first fully synthetic one.
Yeah.
And then we need a bunch of synthetic material for what? War.
Of course.
As always, war changes everything.
Yeah.
But especially in the United States, World War I and World War II bring out a need for more synthetic materials like that. And that's when we start getting like nylon is invented in 1935. They use that in parachutes, ropes, body armor, all that kind of stuff. So all kinds of like tactical gear for people in combat in the war. And then also plexiglass is invented around the same time. And they use that in windows for airplanes. So, and I'm sure a handful of other things. But then, World War II ends in 1945. And by the 1960s, we're like, ruh-roh. There's a problem. It's in the ocean.
Yeah.
Everywhere by the 60s. So now I have a funny piece of fun information for you, because I'm sure you have not seen the film The Graduate.
You're right, I haven't.
Okay. It's a great film.
Yeah.
Worth seeing. I, first watched it when I was in college because I went through a phase that we don't have to talk about. But for its 50th anniversary, I went and saw it in theaters. It was so fun by myself because, again, I'm lame. But there is a famous quote in that movie, and it's plastics. Because he is so it's Dustin Hoffman.
Right.
And he has just graduated, of course, and now he's trying to figure out what he's going to do with his life. And someone's like telling him, you got to get into plastics, basically. And so it's really funny because of the way the line is delivered and whatever. But what I didn't know is like kind of the overarching theme of that line and why it was so funny to people was because at that point we had gotten to the point where we're like, plastic is actually like really tacky and cheap and whatever. But this person's like trying to like get him into this industry that is so lucrative, but just so tacky.
Yeah.
And so the audience is, laughing along with him at the fact that like, oh, plastics, it's this great industry, but actually it's so trashy. So that's kind of a funny little factoid of when that starts to happen. Like it shifts from being the savior of elephants and this is the greatest thing we've ever invented to a tacky industry.
Like chintzy.
Yes. Yeah. And that's still today. If you say something is plastic, you're like, ugh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Like it carries that whatever with it, that connotation with it that it didn't used to when it was first invented. So I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, so it's the 60s is the first time we really start to realize that this isn't going anywhere, and that it doesn't break down in nature. And that's really a problem because they designed it to be disposable, but not, to be able to break down because it's not natural.
Right.
So it sort of makes sense that it can't just like decay like anything else.
Right.
Which is crazy. So it was actually the plastic industry that came up with the idea of recycling.
Which good for them.
Yeah, because they were like, they were
like, we made a mistake.
Yes.
We didn't know, so let's fix it.
Yes. So they start all the recycling initiatives and
Earth Warriors.
Yes, of course.
Reduce, reuse, recycle. We've already done this.
We have, and I'm sure Recyclops we talked about from The Office. Recyclops. Anyway, that's a new word I just came up with. Anyway, obviously remains a big problem today. I have no satisfying ending to the story of plastics.
Yeah.
Because it's a problem.
It is a problem.
Like there is literally, I know we've talked about this before too, when we talked about trash, but there is literally a mass like the size of Texas in the Pacific Ocean that is just plastic. Absolute plastic everywhere. And it also sadly kills a lot of wildlife.
Yeah.
Which is what it was created to preserve.
To save. Yeah. Especially like plastic straws are like killing turtles.
Right.
Exactly the animal they were trying to save. Yes. One of the animals.
Yes, definitely. So. Also a lot of other animals like, and I think they've gotten better about this in the last couple of years. Like when you buy like a 6-pack of soda cans or bottles.
Those like little plastic rings.
Now they kind of have the things on the top. Like if it's a can, they have the thing on the top so it can't. But anyway, animals will get wrapped up in that or they choke on it or whatever. So yeah, certainly like we've come up with some better ideas, but like overall, what are we doing about this plastic thing? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know because I don't work in plastics. But it is unfortunate because it does feel like something that actually was created to help. And I would have never, ever known that without researching
either,
that.
Because you just think like, ooh, plastic bad.
Yes. So that really is unfortunate. Now, something I think is shocking is the fact that like we even call like natural plastics like horn and shell and things like that, because I was telling Ty this morning about that as I was researching it. And he was like, I would have never considered those natural plastics. And I was like, no, me either. But apparently you heat them up and then they're malleable.
They're much more pliable.
And then you can
shape them into whatever you want.
Yeah. And he was like, I would have never known. I was like, me either. I always thought these things were like used and then carved. And so in an awful world, would we have plastics?
Natural or synthetic?
Natural or synthetic. Because here's my thinking. A, are you going to cut a horn off of an animal?
Not off of a living animal. So I think we've talked about this before in our tools episode.
Yes. And we've also talked about it in our glass episode.
Yeah.
Because we talked about how they used like horns for like windows.
Yeah.
And we were like, the fuck?
Yeah. No, I'm not going to be cutting anything off of a living animal.
No, it's alive. That would hurt it.
Yes, that's a horrible thing to do. And no, we're just like at our like core, like we're animal people. We're animal conservationists. So like, no. I'm not going to be doing that. But I stand by what I've said in these other episodes, that if I came across a creature that was already deceased and I found something on it that I think could be usable and like helpful.
Right.
Yeah, I probably would approach it and be like, ooh, what can we do with this?
Right.
So like, I feel good about discovering natural plastics.
But are you, because here's my thing. First of all, if you come across a dead elephant, feels like a lot of work to get the horn off of it, off of such a big creature. And then how are you going to know that you can
heat it up?
Yeah, heat it up and that it would be malleable. Are you going to do that, or are you just going to be like, this is sharp and I can like stab things with it?
Oh, Haylie, you have little faith. No, I'm kidding. You almost always have the most faith in us.
Yes.
Way more than I do. And then it's just so funny to me that something this simple, you're like, are you going to figure that out?
Well, I'm just kind of like, something like that you're going to see and you're going to be like, oh, it's
That's
sharp
hard.
And it's something and it's hard and it's something that like maybe you would carve into it to make it decorative or something.
Yeah.
But to use as a tool, I just don't see us being like, let me try to melt it.
See what happens.
You know?
Yeah, no. And I think it would be more like most things, an accident. You trip and the elephant tusk gets thrown into the fire or like whatever. Or you leave it out on a really hot day on, I don't know.
I don't feel like leaving it out on a hot day would work though, because
I don't know. Well, you can cook an egg on a sidewalk.
Well, yeah, but like the elephant has to walk around on a hot day and it doesn't melt off.
You're right. Fine, you're right. I don't know how hot you have to get these things to make them.
Feels hotter than a hot day.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
You were so like faithful that we could come up with pottery though. How are we going to develop a kiln? I mean, not to take us back, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm also like, pottery is just kind of like water and clay, and then you're just shaping it. And you can leave that out on a hot day.
Yeah, that's true.
Stuff.
That's true.
And then,
but it would take a long time.
Yes, it would take a long time. So then you would be like, what would probably heat this up is
fire.
Yeah. Whereas something like a horn or a shell or a tusk or something, that's just something where I'm like, I could see you being like, ooh, this tortoise shell, I could make a really big bowl out of it.
Yeah, but I can't shape it into something else.
Yes, because I would just be like, well, it's already hard. Or like if it's broken, you could be like, it's sharp. If it's broken, then I could,
And maybe some of that, I don't know how, we figured that out in this world.
Yeah.
But maybe some of that is also just like, well, we've observed that like metal, like, with blacksmiths, like
that's
metal,
true.
when you heat it up a lot, is a little bit more malleable.
That's true.
Than it is just like, that's how we make swords. So I don't know if the connection is like, well, metal does that, so let's see if this does that. Like,
that could be
sort of just like trial and error with those kinds of things. I think it's possible.
Yeah.
That's like the line of thinking, or like I said, just like total accident. Like, something happens somehow.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, that made it kind of different. And like, what if we made like molds of something and we, tried to like make a comb out of this? But yes, I agree that I do think like, and up until I researched this, I did not know that that's what we were doing with it.
No.
I thought we were carving it for sure.
Yes. I was like, I'm sorry, what? I would have never considered those that way. And that's what Ty thought too. And then I was like, in 2025, if you would have been like, here's an elephant tusk, I would have been like, okay. So it's sharp and it's hard, and
right.
I
can use it to hurt somebody.
Cut it and like carve into it, but
but what else do I really?
What else am I doing? I would never.
Turns out to be such a valuable resource.
Yes, I thought people were just like, I know that people even today are still trying to like kill them for the ivory and things like that.
Yeah,
and I genuinely thought it was they were like, oh well, it's pretty, and I can make pretty things out of it again by carving.
Yeah, but now we understand why it's such a valuable resource. And how it's like,
don't do this, listeners.
No, I understand it's so contradictory, but because you're like, well, but if you use plastic, then you're protecting the animals, but you're hurting the environment, which is inadvertently hurting the animals. But if you want the animals, then you're like, it's kind of the same thing.
Yes, like there's no winning.
No,
in that situation,
but I do think,
not using them.
Right, and I do think that our generation is like sort of the biggest proponent of like not using or trying not to use plastic for things because we were raised on such like, because I don't think the whole recycling movement becomes a thing until like the 80s.
Probably.
70s or the 80s. I think our first Earth Day was in the 70s, maybe like 1979 or something like that. So I think it doesn't really become a thing until the 80s. So by the time we're kids, there's such a strong emphasis on that.
Yes.
And, you know, it's all about recycling and every school you go into, there's recycling bins and like lots of workplaces have recycling bins, et cetera, et cetera. And I think, you know, obviously it's important to like recycle paper and things like that, but also to recycle plastic more specifically.
Yes.
And I think our generation has been very good a lot of ways, like we use like tote bags instead of plastic bags at the grocery store.
Yeah.
We, you know, try to use glass straws or glass containers for our, you know, lunch that we take to work or whatever it is.
And there's like those stores that you can go into where you bring your own glass jars and you fill them in your jars instead of prepackaged.
We all have water bottles, like, you know, people
we have like metal water bottles.
Yeah, and people take those with them so they don't have to refill plastic bottles.
Or buy 3 a day.
Yes, exactly. So I do think that our generation has made a lot of really good steps towards reducing the use of plastic.
I agree.
But it also is such a big part of our environment and our world. Like, we'll never truly be able to get away with it.
No.
I mean, you could look around this room that we're sitting in and pick out several things
100%.
that are made of plastic. I mean, there's only so much you can do to reduce your, you know, carbon footprint in that sense. But
have you seen the articles about like black kitchen utensils?
No.
So a lot of plastic, obviously, is they're trying to recycle as much as they can, things like that. Apparently, I've seen articles about how a lot of black plastic kitchen utensils are made from recycled, like technology plastics, like computers, video games, that kind of stuff. But because of that, because that's how they were originally used, there's a lot more like cancer-causing chemicals on them that they're just realizing now. Yeah. Now that they've all been recycled into kitchen utensils.
Right. Something that you're going to use and then put in your mouth.
Yeah. So they're like, so now people are like, well, throw those away. And I'm like, But then I'm also like, we have one black plastic big spoon. Yeah. That like we use when we dole out like pasta or chili or whatever. I'm like, you know what?
To use that for that purpose
is not,
it's so de minimis.
Yes. I'm like, that's fine. I mean, if every single thing in my kitchen was black plastic, I'd be like, shoot, maybe we should get some others and like slowly replace them over time. But also my one black plastic spoon, if that is what takes me out, then like, I think it was meant to be.
Yeah.
You know? Then,
so be it.
Then if I am killed by a plastic spoon, then that's sad, but whatever.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, also, I'm sure that a lot of those like black type of utensils too are like you get from, you know, when you order food and they send silverware. So like, you know, we always like, I love that DoorDash like has the option of like, do not send me silverware. I do not want your utensils. I will use my metal utensils. Yeah. Because I don't want to use plastic silverware for so many reasons. But obviously one of those reasons is I don't want to use plastic because I'm going to throw it away after one use. And that's just wasteful.
Exactly. And it's coming to your home.
Right.
You know?
It's just like, I think a lot of this, like, you know, now that we know that plastic started out as such a good idea and for a good purpose, but then it kind of morphed into like laziness, right? Like people didn't want to have to wash utensils.
Yep.
So we'll just use plastic
ones.
Utensils. Yeah. I don't like that.
I don't either.
And there was something else I was thinking too that I was like, I don't like that we use it for that. But yeah, just be like, just so lazy. Just, or like paper plates, you know? Like we have paper plates. We use them, you know, now and then. But for the most part, we use our, you know, ceramic plates that we can wash and then use again.
We have paper plates for if we have like an outdoor party.
Yes,
or
exactly.
For like when kids come over.
Yeah,
so
which I'm not saying like don't ever buy paper plates, but like, you know, don't make every meal you have off of paper plates.
Exactly.
Because that is really harmful to the environment.
And it's like how, you know, it used to be glass bottles that you got your like sodas in or your milk in, and then you would take them back and get 10 cents for every bottle or whatever. And then you could use that money to buy new ones and they would just clean them and refill them. Yeah. And now it's plastic bottles everywhere you go, plastic milk jugs, plastic everything. So
yeah, you don't really think about the fact that like soda even used to be in glass bottles. And we should shift back to that.
And you can still buy glass bottles, but when you see glass bottles at the store, everyone's like, ooh,
I know, like bottles. It's so fancy. Yeah. It's like, no, it's actually just nicer for the environment. And like, I obviously, like one of the big things is milk. Because like you said, like people would send them back. Or you would literally have the milkman come to your door. I know this is a foreign concept to some really young people, but like that was a thing. The milkman would come to your door. He would bring you, you know, whatever, 4 little pints of milk. And then you'd put your, you know, pints from last week out there, your empty ones, and he'd take them and then he'd clean them and then they would be used again and again and again. Like,
I do think it's funny. You're like, this is a foreign concept.
I mean, it is to us too.
It's a foreign concept to us. We're not that old.
I know, but also like, there's just so many.
That clear.
There's just so many things that I'm just like, I doubt children today know about Milkman.
Yeah, that's true.
And we do.
Yes.
Even though it's not something we ever had in our lifetimes, right?
I'm just like, it's a foreign concept.
Right. Yeah.
We never had a milkman.
Well, I had Oberweis for a time and they bring it to your door like that. It's like, so they make like dairy products and all kinds of stuff. Mostly dairy is their big thing, like Oberweis milk. Really, really good milk. And it comes in glass bottles. And it is like a strictly like, you know, the Schwan man?
Yes.
So it's kind of like that, but for like dairy.
Okay.
But you would leave, like they give you a cooler. Well, you like buy a cooler as part of your whatever. And then you leave it outside your door for the day they're going to come and they put your milk and everything in there. But they would take your bottles back too, which is really nice because, you know, you feel like you're doing something good.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, but like I said, I mean, at this point, it's so far gone that I'm not like, well, just give up and use as much plastic as you want.
Right.
But like, I do think everybody can do a little bit to.
Yes, if everybody is mindful, then that helps. But really what we need are corporations to be mindful.
Well, that's never going to happen. So give up on that. Yes. Yeah, give up on that right now.
But it's sad when it's like every single person is like replacing their plastic straws with paper straws and glass straws. And they're like, I'm the problem. And really, at the end of the day, we're not the problem.
It's like unavoidable.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, you know, just current environment, things going on. Like people don't want to like buy from Amazon anymore. And that's a great thing to you know, try to commit to. But whether you know it or not, at certain points, you are giving money to Amazon because even people you buy things from are buying things from Amazon. So it's like,
it's true.
It's sort of unavoidable to some extent. And I think that's similar here. Like you can't live your life in 2025 without using any plastic. Like it'd be nice if you could, but it's just not how the world works. So, but I wrote down that I thought that we would rely more on like glass, ceramics, and like textiles.
I agree.
So I think we would be like building cute little bags that we would take to the grocery store to put our stuff in.
Bags.
Right. And I meant sewing. It's technically building, so like sewing bags or crocheting or knitting bags is what I have in mind.
Be very into the fiber arts.
Exactly. We're making baskets. It's going to be a whole thing.
I did tell Ty like a week ago, I was like, should we take a basket weaving class?
Oh my God. I wanted to do that in high school and I should have, but I didn't. But they had one.
Should we?
Except I think it was like fiber arts was the class.
I want to do like legit basket weaving.
Yeah. I'm sure we could find a class to go to around here.
It would be very fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
But yes, we would be 100% making baskets and bags and that kind of stuff and using glass jars. And because we've already discussed glass blowing and things like that. And I was thinking about brushes because brushes are clearly nowadays made of plastic. And in the past, I think they used to be made of like animal hair or something.
Yeah, they had to be.
But I think we would just do like haircuts for animals, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's like...
We're like shearing.
That's not hurting them.
No, but we're not going to be like, let me murder you and then take your hair. No. We would just be like, hey, let me give you a little haircut.
Yeah. Bzz.
Yeah.
Bzz. And now we're going to use this.
That's right.
Instead of throwing it away.
Exactly.
Because that's what it means to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Now, you know, I feel good about all of this. We're using textiles. We're using ceramics. We're using glass. I feel great about that because we are such good people. You just inflate it. We are so good. But I think that mostly this is owed to the fact that we would not come up with plastic.
Yeah.
Because, so I wrote down like plastic in its basic form is crude oil, natural gas, or coal that goes through a series of chemical reactions to create plastic. I've
got nothing.
I don't know what that means. What do you, and Brian was like, you guys could, you definitely have oil. And I'm like, the fuck? What?
I think we could accidentally find oil.
Yeah, but would we know what to do with it? No.
We'd be like, oh my God, look at this black sludge. Yeah, like we summoned a demon.
We don't know how to refine
opened
this.
The pits of hell.
Yeah, like, I don't... What?
You think we're going to be like, look, we found this black sludge. You know what we need? An engine.
Yeah, like, what do you mean? What's that? We need plastic. I don't like...
Because I actually, honestly, thinking about it, so... Cars run on oil and gasoline. We know this. But like, did we have oil and then people were like, ooh, I can make things run with oil? Or were we like, I have this thing and I wish I had some sort of like slippery black sludge to put in here to make it run? How did we put two and two together?
I think it has something to do with like trains, honestly, but I'm not confident on that. Like if we had coal and we figured out that we could power engines with coal, and then I think we were like, because I think like oil and coal are very closely related.
It's just like the liquid
like rock form of it. I maybe. I don't know. I'm not a scientist and I don't purport to be one.
Because it's kind of like liquid, solid, and gas, except the gas is also a liquid.
I know.
It's because it's gasoline and not gas.
But even in here, it's like natural gas. I'm like, well, how are you just taking a plastic bag and trying to capture all the like, how do you harness this? I don't understand it. And like, obviously we use like propane for grills. How do we gather the propane? I don't understand.
I know. I'm like, you think they're just like, is it just like a little steam that's like shooting out like a geyser somewhere and then someone just like,
I mean, certainly
puts a tube and like a bag over it?
I don't know.
And then they're like, got it.
Like, I don't get it.
I don't know
how air compressors work.
See, I don't either, because you like plug it in and you press the button and it's like
yeah.
And then eventually it goes
because that's it compressing the air, I imagine.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what compression is, but I don't know what that means.
Do you think it's like there's someone in there who's just like like sucking it in and then they're just
like that's how air compressors work, actually. Yeah, there's a little man inside of each air compressor.
It has to be like two little men, right? Because it's got one who's sucking in the air and the other one who goes, you know?
Well, like, tell me when you're done and I'll stop going when you're done. Okay? And go.
So I'm like, we could find oil, I'm sure, on accident.
I know.
But again, I think that we would be like, this is a bad omen.
Yes, because when Brian said that to me, I was like, have you lost your mind? Like, I don't understand how we create oil into gasoline now. Like,
wait, is oil what is used to make gasoline?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were just different things.
No.
Oh, then how come
it's refined?
Well, then how come you need both in a car?
Well, engine oil is not oil.
Oh.
So, have you ever seen someone change oil?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so when it comes out of the bottle into the oil tank, what color is it?
Oh, I don't know.
It's not black. It's like clear.
Oh.
It's like clear.
Oh.
And it gets disgusting like that from greasing all the shit in your engine to keep it moving, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's why when you drain it,
then it
comes out all gross like that.
See, I always see when it's coming out. Not always. I've seen it.
Yeah. So if you just go out and buy a bottle of Valvoline, today, it looks like vegetable oil, basically.
Oh.
Yeah. And I don't think it's the same sort of thing. Yeah. I swear one of these days someone is going to be like, this dumb bitch knows nothing. She acts like, Ty's giving me a thumbs up that I'm right about this, and I feel good about that. Okay. Okay.
If they're going to say that you're a dumb bitch, though, then, like, what does that say about me as I'm over here, like,
no.
Oil and gas are the same. How come it needs both? Like, what does that say about me?
Yeah, no, nothing. It doesn't say anything about you. It's a confusing process.
Yeah.
Especially because gasoline looks nothing like oil.
Right,
So that's also confusing. But it should be noted that oil for your engine also looks nothing like oil. I mean, it looks like oil, but it doesn't look like natural oil, right?
Yeah.
This is just ridiculous. Yeah. Sometimes, I was just thinking about this morning. I'm like, sometimes I know so much about the stupidest things. But then I'm like Brian was asking me a question about his taxes. And I was just like, the fact that he thinks I know this, like, is he just asking me a question to make me feel better? Or is he actually asking me? Because either way, it's not great.
You're like, I don't know.
I do not
Stop
know.
asking me.
I can look it up, but that's the best I got.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I'm like, I'm a whiz at Google.
For sure. I can figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll Google it. So I'm just like in the other room, like, yeah, it's this. Totally. I knew that off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So, not the same thing.
Gotcha.
Well, so it's refined, and then that's how we get gasoline.
Well, I mean, I just don't see us using any of those products to make plastic.
No, I don't think so either.
Still don't know how you would do it now.
I don't either.
And I don't think I want to know. And,
I just don't know that any Libbies are going to be chemists. I'll say that.
No, I think that during the baking episode, we discovered that I could be.
You could be.
A scientist.
Yeah. I
don't know about chemicals in particular, but I think I could do like the scientific method.
It's so interesting that I think we could both be scientists, but of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Like you understand that kind of stuff. I understand like bodies or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. You could do like medical things.
Medicine. Yeah.
And I would be like, I can come up with a process and figure out how to actually get something particular the right way every single time.
Yes.
But
yeah, I think you'd be really good at that.
But
I would not.
And I couldn't do medical stuff because I pass out so easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So plastic.
Wow. That was honestly, the end of that was really fun.
Yeah. And we really went off the rails for a second.
I know, but I really like when we discover things like on a hot mic.
Yeah.
Because when we came up with the idea for this podcast, there were so many things that I like, man, I wish there had been a microphone there.
I know. And
when we were talking about that.
That's why Ty was like, you guys have to stop talking about this stuff at work.
Because they're just hilarious conversations. Yes. So now you too, listener, know that engine oil and crude oil from the ground are not the same thing. So
now you know.
That's what you learned from our episode about plastics. You're like, how the fuck did I end up here?
So I'm wondering the same thing.
It's a roller coaster ride. More on roller coasters later. I'm just kidding. We haven't talked about it. That's a topic, but we should add it.
But we should.
We should. Amusement parks. What a fun topic.
Ooh.
Woo. Do you have anything to say about plastic?
No.
Anything else?
Than I don't think we'd have them.
It's a hard and fast no.
Exactly.
We are going to be relying on the fiber arts and the ceramics.
And the glass.
So if you want to know more about how we got fiber arts and ceramics and glass, you should go listen to those episodes.
Yeah, we've got them.
Yeah. And so you can check those out on Spotify or YouTube or Apple Podcasts, where you get your podcasts. You can, listen, learn, hopefully along with us.
And laugh.
Yeah, definitely laugh. That is the point of this podcast for the most part.
Yes.
We get a little serious sometimes, but, we always bring it around town. You gotta, and I knew that was gonna happen because I made a SpongeBob reference.
That's right.
So yeah, check us out on all those places I just said. Listen to those episodes. Visit the Patreon if you feel like it. Maybe throw us a little cashola to help us keep the podcast going. It's patreon.com/AnAwfulWorld podcast. And until next time, we hope that your day is simply awful.